In this video, I want to talk with you about what is going on here in the United States with this movement called MAHA, M-A-H-A, Make America Healthy Again. And I want to talk with you about it with regard to MAHA versus the covenant, because a lot of you are looking at this and you think this is a good thing. Oh, RFK is taking food dyes out of our food and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I mean, I personally agree that we shouldn't be messing with our food. We shouldn't be modifying it. We should be treating our animals well. Our animals should not be going into this high stress situation when they're being slaughtered. It should be a humane process, and their lives should be good, and they should be fed actual food. And they should have a good life in which they're ranging, not are stuffed into something and can hardly move. It's just really disgusting and really sad. And the reason I believe these things also, by the way, is because that's what's talked about in the Bible. That the animals were supposed to be slaughtered in a particular way. Like, a lot of people look at this and they're like, they think that it's mean that animals were sacrificed. All it meant that an animal was sacrificed is that it was being sacrificed to God. But they were killed, they were first of all raised and then killed in a way that was humane. You think that what we're doing right now is right? And actually, we know that it's not. And I've spoken to you about this on the channel, that my family and I, we choose to shop at a halal market because we know that those animals are raised correctly and they are slaughtered correctly. I don't know what kosher is. That's a whole lot of addition to the scroll, and so I don't go there. We prayed about this, we discerned it together as a family, and this is what we do. And part of the way that we came to this is that God was pressing on my daughter's heart something that was spoken of in Acts with regard to the Gentiles, to tell the Gentiles not to eat the meat of any animals who have been strangled, and not to eat the blood of any animal, which is in God's law. And so here's the issue. The food that you're buying at the grocery store, the meat that you're buying at the grocery store, still has blood in it, because there's not enough time in a slaughterhouse to immediately drain that blood, nor are those animals treated the way that God said to treat these animals. And we're not going to support that. I would rather eat all vegetables than to eat the meat. And it's not because I'm a vegetarian. It's not because meat is unhealthy or God messed up making meat, which is what these lunatics want to imply. You know, people like that liar, Dr. Gundry, who everything, you can't eat this because it's got lectins in it. You can't eat that. Do you know what the word says? The word said that people were going to say these things in the very end, that they were going to say that there were certain foods you couldn't eat. I can't stand that guy. He's such a liar. You know, God made food good. He made food good. We messed with it. And also, we're supposed to relate with food correctly. We're supposed to relate with our bodies correctly. But that's not what's going on. People are going to places like McDonald's and loading up on Big Macs and, like just eating terribly, with no discernment, with no conscience, with no connection to their bodies. They're just like a flesh beast, insatiable. 1 Timothy 4, the Spirit clearly says that in later times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Oh boy, is that the truth. Such teachings come through hypocritical liars whose consciences have been seared as with a hot iron. They forbid people to marry and order them to abstain from certain foods which God created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and those who know the truth. For everything God created is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving, because it is consecrated by the word of God and prayer. Do it right, receive it with thanksgiving. And then also, Paul talks about people being weak and sick because they're not discerning the Lord's Supper, because they were more concerned about indulging, and they were not discerning themselves before they started stuffing their faces for their own gratification. If you want to know why it is that we're sick or reacting to certain foods, that's why. I have a reaction to dairy if I overindulge in dairy. And there are certain foods that are really easy to indulge in. It doesn't mean that I have to completely remove dairy from my diet or that dairy is bad. It means that I need to be in obedience to God and have prudence and self-control and eat certain foods in moderation, like dairy, like sugar. The word even talks about that. Proverbs 25:16. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it and you will vomit. The concept of moderation and prudence and self-control has been built into the Bible. The concept of discernment, the concept of thanksgiving, the concept of God making food, and all food is good if it's received in the right way. God has not given you food so that you can act like a pig. But a lot of us act like pigs. And then there are narratives in the world that say that the consequences of us being pigs are somebody else's fault. It's the food industry's fault. No, it's not. I'm not defending the food industry. The food industry is corrupt and it's evil and everything else. But that is on us. That's something for us to take up with God. We need to be accountable. We don't abdicate personal responsibility over to anybody. Food industry, doctors, anybody. And it seems like what is happening in the world is that every consequence that God has given us, we turn it into a diagnosis and we turn it into symptoms that then warrant a diagnosis so that we can blame somebody else for the accountability that God has placed on us, for the onus that God has placed on us. And it needs to stop. And it needs to stop because the consequences of that are even greater. It means that we're not healing and therefore we are not being saved because we've rejected the truth. We've rejected the covenant. What did God say? He said, if you obey me, I'm not going to put on you any of the diseases that I put on the Egyptians. So what do? We go to doctors and we're like, well, God gave us science. We go to nutritionists and energy healers and natural medicine. Did he stutter? Is there ambiguity in that statement that he is the Lord who heals us? It's pretty clear to me. And if it wasn't clear to you, then he goes on to demonstrate how he heals us and what we must do when he sends consequences that we've been calling symptoms of a diagnosis. And so you go and you get a vaccine, and then you receive the consequences of handing yourself over to the idol of science that denies God. And then you're like, well, it's the doctor's fault. Well, it's pharma's fault. Why did you hand yourself over to it to begin with? Do you think that when Jesus comes back that you're going to be able to say, it's Satan's fault? No, because Satan can't affect you if you don't submit yourself to him. The fact that somebody else is evil does not absolve you of your evil, of your rebellion, of your disobedience. So here's the propaganda that is being pitched in this Maha movement. Health and wellness. Oh, it sounds so nice, doesn't it? It's so pagan. It is so pagan, with a pagan narrative about where health and wellness comes from. Health and wellness comes from God. Do you remember that Daniel was just eating vegetables? Him and his friends, they were just eating vegetables while everyone else was eating the royal food, and they were better off at the end of things for having obeyed God, not for having eaten vegetables, but for having obeyed God and not defiled themselves with defiled food. What's the criteria for health and wellness? God. Obeying what he established, and then he'll give you health and wellness. Obedience. That's what he wants. You obey him. But these rich lunatics, like Marla Maples, the cuckoo, they keep pitching these lies about nutrition and supplements and clean eating and no carbs. People like Dr. Gundry, all food is evil. Now you got to be afraid of food. And what that leads you to believe is that something from the outside is defiling you, that it's not coming from your heart. And now you become obsessed on what it is that you're putting into your body rather than what you're putting into your heart. Do you see the deception of the devil in the world? And these people pitch pagan meditations and yoga, which is this is a worship. It's a form of worship. I'm not making that up like some woo-woo thing. Yoga is a form of worship. Very literally. No Christian should be engaging in yoga. Oh, and there's good foods and bad foods, and you have to pay extra for the good foods. Is this what God has said? Is this what he established in his word when Jesus came healing people? Was he like, oh, you got GI issues, we got to take a look at your diet? Or is this what the world preaches? Look at vaccinations. Look at the jab. Why is this wrong? Why would this be upsetting to God? Because it directly defies the covenant he's made with you. It directly defies what he said in Exodus 15:26, where he says, if you obey me, I'm not going to put diseases on you. I am the Lord who heals you. It directly defies the power of God. Many of these people have the appearance of godliness. Marla Maples is one of them. The woman is a nut, a crackpot of all crackpots. She broke up a marriage and continues to insist that she's a Christian. Oh, and she was so shocked. She was just a Christian girl. She got caught in the web of Donald Trump. I mean, everybody and their mother knew that Donald Trump was married and had a family. She confronted his wife in order to break up their family. How Christian is that? The word says that those who are engaged in this kind of sexual immorality are not going to be saved. And the word gives you, this is the one thing that Jesus said that you are not allowed to divorce except for sexual immorality. I don't know what kind of Christianity that is, but it's not Christianity. And then to go out and be the face of this movement where you're talking about, I heard her talking about, oh, this is my morning routine. I get up and do some meditation, some yoga. Then I have an organic something matcha, whatever. Like, not everyone has that luxury. Like, you're living in space, lady. Not everyone has the luxury of your wealth and lifestyle. That's bizarre. By their own claims, most of the people who are suffering are people who are in poverty. What are they going to get up and have an organic such and such latte with their EBT food stamps? What is she talking about? And then these people are promoting and including so-called natural medicine quacks. They promote toxic levels of vitamins and supplements that are just as dangerous as any medication or drug that you would be getting from the pharmacy. This is no different. But see, it's not that isn't the issue. That is the consequence. You understand? The issue is not that you need to get the calculation right, the cocktail right of what you're putting into your body, because nothing defiles you that is going into your body. It goes into the stomach and it goes out. It's what's in your heart. If what's in your heart is this is what's saving my life. This is what I thought when I was very ill and I was taking thousands of dollars a month worth of supplements, and I was so afraid when God told me, go through your cupboards and get rid of all of it. I'm going to heal you. I was like, can you really do that? Can you really do that? How are you going to do that? They're telling me that these things are keeping me alive. I'm getting IVs twice a week, sitting in a room with a bunch of sick people getting IVs. Like that was supposedly going to be good for me. And getting super sick, by the way, sometimes when they were giving me things like glutathione, which supposedly detoxes your body, and now they know that it actually poisons you. These things are dangerous. And the reason God hands us over to those consequences is because we have not believed, we have not obeyed, we are not rending our heart to what he has said is going to heal us. And so, we get the consequences of what's in our heart. Now let's talk about hormones. Okay, obviously, it's not good to be giving anybody hormones. I don't know what in the world human beings were thinking, cutting things out of people's bodies or animals' bodies, being like, oh, let's get rid of this. You know, God made an oopsie putting this into your body, or adding things into your body. Why are we doing this? No, we should not be giving animals hormones. But do you think that it's the fact that the hormones are there, or do you think it's the fact that we are messing with things and not taking care of these animals the way God said to? He talks about violence against animals. He talks about that being an issue. And he talks about disobedience to what he established and what he's going to do to us by that disobedience. I do not vaccinate my dogs. I'm not going to vaccinate my dogs. I am not going to submit to rules that defy God's law. That he is the one who heals us, and we are not to put idols before him. In the last few days, someone has been harassing me from SBCC, putting notices on my door that I'm in violation because I have not registered my dog. Well, I haven't registered them because I don't vaccinate them, and they require me to vaccinate them. I'm not afraid to say this on here, by the way, because anybody who thinks that they're going to go and rat me out or something else, and even the person who's been harassing me, anybody who thinks that they're going to come after God's people who have gone out on a limb to obey him, that they're going to be the winner in this situation, has another thing coming. I'm not afraid to say this. I'm saying it for your own good. I'm saying it so that you can know that this is what it looks like to stand by faith, and that this is what it looks like to obey God's law. You don't obey the laws of the land over what God has said. If that's going to conflict with what God has commanded, what are you going to do, people of God? You're going to be afraid of man, or you're going to be afraid of God? God is not going to test me or allow the devil to tempt me beyond what I can handle. If what is in my heart is that I genuinely know that this is something that God would not allow, and I am willing to take whatever consequences that God has deemed necessary in order to obey him, he is not going to punish me for that. What am I going to be afraid of? I choose God, you guys. Even though I hate living like this, I hate being threatened every which way. Oh, you got to follow this rule, got to follow that rule. I hate it. I hate the way it feels. I am not going to cave in. I am not going to turn back because I'm afraid of a human being. And here's ultimately what I want to say to you in this video regarding Maha and regarding your covenant and regarding man's laws. You need to know your covenant. You need to know your covenant with God, because that's going to be the compass by which you make all of your decisions. And they're going to be hard. I'm not even going to tell you that they might be hard or maybe they'll be hard. It's going to be really tough. You know why? Because the word says you're being purified, made spotless, and refined. The word says that you're coming out of Babylon. And yeah, it's painful. And the word says that in your covenant, that this is a covenant of circumcision. And you know what? Circumcision hurts. Cutting away flesh that has been attached to you, it hurts. Okay? So don't expect that you're going to have the easy covenant and just ride right up to heaven and Jesus is going to be like, oh, I've been waiting for you. You have to prove yourself. And in fact, God is going to prove you. You understand? You don't even know everything that needs to be done. And so you need to decide whether you're willing to suffer for it or not. But these things that are being taught, and even being taught in the name of Christianity, are false. Obedience is what God requires. And obedience is hard enough with adding all of this baloney. Please discern this message with God.